Forgiveness is one of the most powerful and liberating acts a person can perform. Yet, it is also one of the most challenging. When someone has hurt us deeply, the pain lingers, sometimes for years, forming an invisible chain that binds us to the past. This emotional pain can fester and grow, clouding our thoughts and infecting our future relationships. Our hearts become heavy. Our trust is shattered, and we find ourselves in a constant state of unease. That's why forgiveness is so pivotal. It breaks those chains and allows us to move forward. When I was a child, my adoptive father would come home drunk and beat me for any perceived wrong I had done. Often I didn't even know why I was being beaten. This went on for many years, until I was old enough to get away. The fear and pain I experienced were beyond words. Each night, as I lay in bed waiting for the sound of his heavy footsteps, my heart would race, and I would pray that maybe, just maybe, tonight would be different. But it rarely was. The physical bruises would heal, but the emotional scars ran deep. The constant state of fear and anticipation was debilitating. For years, I was traumatized and angry with my father. I was also angry with my mother for letting it happen. The anger was like a cancer, eating away at my soul. I didn't trust people and didn't feel comfortable in social circles. I was a loner, and I was so very lonely. At school, I shied away from forming close friendships, fearing that I would only be let down. I kept to myself, believing that this isolation was a form of protection. I built walls around my heart, walls so high that no one could penetrate them. When I was in my 30s, I discovered the power of forgiveness. I had come to realize that my anger was only hurting me, and the only way to free myself from this anger was through forgiveness. It dawned on me that holding on to these negative emotions was like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. This realization was a turning point. I understood that I deserved better. I deserved peace. I embarked on a journey of discovery. I began analyzing my father and mother's past behavior, trying to understand why they may have acted the way they did. My journey took me through therapy sessions, self-help books, and long, introspective walks where I would dissect my past. I didn't need to be right. I just needed to have what I believed was a legitimate understanding. If I could put myself in their shoes and understand why they did what they did, maybe I could learn to forgive them. I remembered that my father was very insecure and always jealous with my mother. If another man even looked at her, he'd get mad. I also knew it bothered him a great deal that my mother had been with another man before him. As I got older, I think he saw my biological father every time he looked at me, and this angered him. That he was an alcoholic only brought out the worst in him. The realization that his violent behavior was more about his own demons than about me was a huge step. My conclusions about my father's actions may or may not have been right, but that's okay. They gave me an insight that helped me to eventually forgive him. It didn't happen immediately. It was a process, and it took time. I learned that forgiveness is not a one-time event, but a continuous journey. Some days were easier than others. There were moments of relapse where the old anger would resurface, but with time, those moments became less frequent. My father eventually quit drinking, and he is no longer violent. This helped me to finally forgive him, and today we have a wonderful relationship. I also forgave my mother, but I won't go into it because the process was the same. The transformation in my father allowed me to see him in a new light. I saw a man who was trying to atone for his past mistakes, a man who is now capable of love and compassion. Forgiveness isn't always easy. Sometimes it's downright hard, but it is so worth it. It is a journey, and it takes time. The path isn't the same for every person or circumstance, but the freedom that comes from forgiving someone who has wronged you is truly liberating. Through forgiveness, I reclaimed my life. I found an inner strength I never knew I had, and began to rebuild my relationships with those around me. Forgiveness does not mean condoning or forgetting the wrongdoing. Instead, it is a conscious decision to release the burden of anger and resentment. It's about choosing peace over punishment and freeing oneself from the shackles of past grievances. By forgiving, we take back control of our lives. We allow ourselves to heal and to flourish. So, if you are holding on to pain and anger, I urge you to consider the journey of forgiveness. It may be the most challenging path you ever take, but it will also be the most rewarding.